So let me start by saying that I have not read the original novel or seen the English adaptation of The Girl on the Train. However, in my personal opinion, the Hindi adaptation felt a little too long. The acting was either a bit overdramatic or way underplayed, and the diversion from the original ending seemed rather unnecessary. And I'm not even counting the obvious plot holes. Now, seeing that it is a film narrated by a woman, tells her story, and also deals with issues such as female harassment and gaslighting by men, I think it is safe to say that it comes under the umbrella of women centric cinema. But the one thing any average viewer will notice is that all these women are not really in control of their narrative. I am, of course, talking about the ones that are at least given a narrative. So let us begin by getting the minor characters out of the way. Of course, there are spoilers ahead. The first woman is named Komal. The details that we get to know about her are that she was at the same party as Nusrat, the murder victim. She has a boyfriend and she was assaulted by the guy Rajiv, whose party it was. Oh, and she also thinks that it was her fault that she was harassed. I'm not sure why this was mentioned. Maybe the plot point was supposed to make the viewer believe that Rajiv killed Nusrat, which to be honest only works for a few minutes, and that to put way early in the movie to convince us that the focal mystery of the movie is solved within the first half an hour. Maybe it is used to point out the self-blaming that women often subject themselves to. But then this trope is not majorly used anywhere else in the film. Anyway, she's never brought up again. We do not get to know if Rajiv is convicted of sexual assault or even physical assault for hitting Komal's boyfriend. Next is Anjali, Shekhar's second wife. So, at least in Komal's case, we get to know some aspect of her personality. For Anjali, all we know is she is frustrated with Meera consistently calling her husband, and she decides to end the marriage when Shekhar is arrested at the end of the movie. Also, she has a birthday. We do not know how she feels about her life with Shekhar. Does she find out that he cheated on her, or did she know that he was cheating on her at the time? Is this another mystery for another day? Now, to the main women of the story. Nusrat has to be the most tragic of the lot. She is the woman who dies purely because of wrong place, wrong time. Nusrat is admired by Meera from a distance every day. She loves Nusrat's life and thinks that it is perfect. But of course, all that glitters, right? She is the tragic rose of the story. She is hauntingly beautiful and projects a woman who has everything in life, yet she leads a life of pain. Her husband is a drug addict and keeps asking her for money. She is harassed by a guy in her dance class. Her psychologist is obviously in an unrequited love relationship with her, and she is cheating with a cheating asshole. Also, her husband has hired a private investigator to follow her, and then he is also added to the list of men trying to take advantage of her. She is traumatized the whole movie, and never once does she try to take control over it. She is living in a loveless marriage. The only escape she can configure is when she gets pregnant and hopes the cheating asshole would take her away from all this. She keeps going to the dance class where a man keeps approaching her rather forcibly, even when she rejects his advances. Why is she letting these things happen to her? She is financially independent, considering that it looks like she is the sole earner for a very pretty looking household. She can pay for her dance classes, she owns a dog, and pays for therapy. Again, question, why is she not taking control? Then there is the female cop. She is responsible for the investigation and is, of course, introduced as a no nonsense woman who is just doing her job. But in the most unnecessary of the twist, we find out that her motive was only to hurt Meera to take revenge on her for sending her father to prison. In no way are we shown her ability as a detective, considering she is investigating the murder that she herself committed. She is blinded by her trust in her father, not even willing to investigate his case, even though she is a high position cop with a team under her and most probably friends in considerable places. She followed and hid Meera's car 6 months after her father's trial, then a few years later started following her again. I understand that any child would be apprehensive to believe that their father could ever commit even a minor crime, but her being a police officer, you would assume that she would be willing to investigate the case or even tamper the evidence in favor of her father, which we know she is more than capable of. All this, and we don't even know if we are supposed to condemn her actions or question them, as we are never told the truth about her father's case. And finally, the protagonist of the film, Meera. She is an alcoholic with memory loss issues. She used to be a headstrong lawyer who was not afraid to do her job even if she had to go against gangsters. But she is instantly willing to let go of her job as soon as she becomes pregnant, which does signify the importance of the child in her life and sort of justifies her turning to alcohol when she loses it. So, ex lawyer, current alcoholic, obsessed with her ex husband, and a random woman she idolizes from a distance. She takes the train which passes by her old house and then goes back the same route. And that's her day. And when she is not gazing out the window, she drinks. Her memory blacks out from time to time, and those gaps are filled by her then husband, which leads her to believe that she can be violent when drunk. It is obvious in her case the most that her narrative is not only controlled by her ex but also partly formed by him. She doubts herself because he told her about the unspeakable things she would do when drunk. She starts obsessing with a random stranger because she reminds her of the life Mira shared with the man she loved. Even the reason for her to be the girl on the train is to watch her ex seamlessly substitute her with a new girl. She so badly wants her old life back that she is willing to go to a stranger's house so her fantasy of a perfect life does not crash. In no scene is she shown even trying to move on from her past or improve her life. These women are either defined by their interactions with a man or their motives are an indirect or direct consequence of their interactions and the abuse they have received from them. They are either haunted by their past or completely engulfed by it. In the case of the protagonist, we do see that she decides to take matters into her own hands. That too only when she concludes that her ex husband is the one who killed Nusrat and is her only ticket to freedom. He is not held accountable at all for how deeply he affected her life or how he was a major contributing factor to her drinking addiction. She never questions why he went from willingly starting a family with her to a cheating and lying man who makes her believe she is a horrible person. Oh, wait, she does. But then immediately questions herself, thinking that maybe she was too blinded in love to see his true colors. And so we see self blaming makes a return. Also, Nusrat too fought back and threatened to put Shekhar behind bars. Sadly, she only does that because he refuses to marry her and she also instantly gets choked for it. So, are we saying that in this story, the women either blame themselves for the abuse they faced or try to manipulate the justice system for their advantage and also instantly get killed later? The cop does get shot after she admits to manipulating the investigation to frame Mira. I guess the only bright side is that out of the five women, one gets out of an unfaithful marriage and one turns sober. And also, it passes the Bechdel test, I guess. Oh, and the men aren't very well written either.